The scorching sun hung over Deadwood Gulch, casting harsh shadows on the dusty Main Street. Sheriff Marcus Cole wiped sweat from his brow as he patrolled, his worn boots stirring small clouds of dirt. At 35, Marcus had seen enough human cruelty to last a lifetime, but nothing prepared him for what he was about to witness that July afternoon in 1884. Loud laughter and shouting from the town square caught his attention. Marcus quickened his pace, his hand instinctively resting on his Colt .45. Deadwood was a rough mining town, full of claim jumpers, rustlers, and drifters. A crowd gathering usually meant trouble. As he rounded the corner, he froze. In front of Hutchinson's saloon, a makeshift platform had been set up. On it stood Ezra Blackwood, a snake oil salesman and known human trafficker, banned from decent towns all the way to California. But it wasn't Blackwood that made Marcus's blood run cold. It was the terrified girl beside him. She looked about 18 or 19, with long, tangled dark hair and large brown eyes darting frantically across the crowd. Her dress, simple and oversized, hung loosely on her thin frame. "Gentlemen," Blackwood's voice cracked through the air. "A rare treasure. Healthy, hard-working, and best of all," he grinned, "she can't talk back." The crowd roared with laughter. Marcus felt sick. The girl's eyes flickered between faces, confused and terrified, clearly not understanding the jeers. "Let's start the bidding at $20. Blackwood shouted. Marcus pushed through the crowd, his badge catching the sun. Up close, he saw more. How the girl focused on people's lips when they spoke, the fearful confusion in her eyes, the way she hugged herself protectively. She was deaf, Marcus realized with horror. 30, someone called to. 40, shouted another. Her eyes found Marcus's badge. Hope flickered across her face. She pointed to herself, then to him, making frantic, desperate gestures. Marcus couldn't understand her hands, but he understood her meaning. Help. $50, called Jake Morrison, a brutal man who owned several brothels in nearby camps. Marcus had seen firsthand the condition of Morrison's women. The thought of this girl in his hands made Marcus's vision blur with rage. 60, another voice shouted. Marcus stepped toward the platform. Blackwood, you're under arrest for human trafficking and unlawful sale of persons. Blackwood laughed like broken glass. Debt collection's legal here, Sheriff. This girl owes for transport and care. Working off her debt, that's all. That's a lie and you know it. Marcus snapped. Got proof? Any documents? Blackwood waved a forged contract. Because I have one right here. Marcus knew it was fake, but proving that would take time the girl didn't have. The bidding climbed higher. 75. Morrison yelled to 80. The girl's breathing quickened, panic overtaking her. She looked at Marcus again, signing rapidly, pleading. $100. Morrison bellowed. Silence fell. That was more money than most men there made in months. Going once. Blackwood called Doc. Marcus's mind raced. No legal grounds. No time. No other way. Going twice. Stop, Marcus shouted, stepping onto the platform. The bidding's over. Blackwood's eyes widened. Unless you're bidding, Sheriff, you've got no authority. I'm not bidding, Marcus cut in. I'm here to claim my wife. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The girl stared at Marcus, stunned. Morrison's face twisted in fury. Your wife. Blackwood scoffed. That's impossible. Marcus leaned toward her, speaking slowly so she could read his lips. My name is Marcus. I'm here to help you. Do you understand? Her eyes searched his face. She pointed to herself and made a gesture, hands flat together. The sign for marriage, though Marcus didn't know that yet. Yes, Marcus said firmly. Married. To me. Understanding dawned in her eyes. She nodded quickly, stepping closer to him despite trembling with fear. This is ridiculous. Morrison roared. Where's the marriage certificate? Marcus shielded her with his body. Married in Denver last month. The certificate's being processed. A total bluff, but said with conviction. Some in the crowd even nodded, half convinced. Blackwood, still pushing, said, She still owes for transport and care. Show me legitimate documentation. Marcus replied coldly. I'll review any real debts my wife has. Tension thickened. The The girl pressed against Marcus's back, trembling but no longer alone. Morrison's hand hovered near his gun. Others muttered angrily. Finally, Blackwood backed down. "This isn't over, Sheriff," he spat. "It never is," Marcus replied. As the crowd dispersed, Marcus turned to the girl. "I don't know sign language," he said, speaking slowly, "but we need to get you somewhere safe." She nodded. Then, spelling carefully with her fingers, "Rose. Rose," Marcus repeated, and for the first time, she smiled. A small, uncertain smile, but real. Walking toward his office, Marcus felt the weight of what he'd just done. He'd save her for now, but Deadwood Gulch wasn't a forgiving place. At his door, he paused. "Rose," he said, waiting for her eyes to meet his. "You're safe now. I promise." Tears filled her eyes, not of fear, but relief. Together, they stepped inside, both knowing this was just the beginning. The sheriff's office was small but clean, a wooden desk cluttered with papers, 2 chairs, a gun rack, and a pot-bellied stove in the corner. Behind it, one door led to the jail cells, another to Marcus's modest living quarters. Rose stood silently, turning to take in her surroundings, while Marcus locked the door and lowered the window shades. "It's not much," Marcus said slowly, making sure she could read his lips, "but it's safe." Rose nodded, then gestured with raised eyebrows, asking what would happen to her now. "You can stay here," pointing around the room and toward his quarters. "No one will hurt you." Relief crossed her face, quickly replaced by worry. She pointed to him, then to herself, clearly trying to express something urgent. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, frustrated. "I don't understand." Rose spotted paper and pencil on his desk. With his nod, she quickly wrote, "I don't want to cause you trouble. The bad man will come back." Marcus's heart tightened. Even now, she feared for him. "Don't worry about me," he said firmly. "It's my job to protect people, including you." She wrote again, "Why did you help me? You don't know me." Marcus hesitated. She reminded him of his sister Sarah, who had died young. But it was more than that. "Because it was the right thing to do," he finally said. "No one should be sold like property." Her next note was simple. "Thank you. I was very scared. You're safe now," Marcus replied, meaning every word. Over the next hour, through notes and gestures, Marcus learned her story. Rose had been born deaf in Ohio. Orphaned by a cholera outbreak 2 years ago, she had trusted a man posing as a minister who promised to take her to relatives in California, but instead sold her to Blackwood. She had traveled for weeks, believing she was working off a debt for her transport. Only that morning had she realized Blackwood's real intentions. "I thought I was going to meet my family," she wrote, hands shaking. Marcus's anger flared again. "How old are you, Rose?" She held up fingers, 1, 8, and 4. 19. As evening fell, Marcus knew they had practical matters to address: food, sleeping arrangements, and how to make their situation appear legitimate. "People will expect us to act like we're really married," he told her carefully. "What I need to do," she wrote, "stay close to me in public. Let people believe we're a couple. It'll protect you." "For how long?" she asked. "I don't know," he admitted, "until we find a better way." That night, Marcus gave Rose his bedroom and took a bedroll in the office. He offered her one of his clean shirts and some simple food. Later, while reviewing the notes she'd written, Marcus noticed her handwriting, educated and careful. Clearly, someone had taught her well. She was smart, brave, and kind. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Rose stood in the doorway, wearing his oversized shirt. She handed him a note. "Thank you again. I know this is hard for you too." "It's not difficult," Marcus lied, though having her there was more complicated than he'd expected. Sensing his unease, she quickly wrote, "I can leave in the morning if you want." "No," Marcus said, voice firm. "You're not going anywhere. This is your home now." Tears filled her eyes. She squeezed his hand in silent gratitude. "Good night, Rose," he said softly. The next morning brought their first test. Over breakfast, heavy boots sounded on the porch. Through the window, Marcus saw Morrison two of his men, and a well-dressed stranger with a leather satchel. "Stay calm," Marcus told Rose. "Remember, we're married." She nodded, moving close to him as he opened the door. "Sheriff Cole," Morrison said, grinning. "Meet Mr. Henderson, a lawyer from Cheyenne. He's here about your wife." Henderson stepped forward, his cold eyes fixed on Rose. "I've reviewed documentation from Mr. Blackwood. This woman is indentured for 5 years to work off her transport debt. Any marriage she entered would be null and void." Rose pressed closer to Marcus, sensing danger. "I'd like to see that documentation," Marcus said. Henderson produced papers showing a supposed signed contract and receipts for transport, food, and lodging. But Marcus immediately noticed the signature wasn't hers. "These are forgeries," he said flatly. "A serious accusation," Henderson replied. "Do you have proof?" Turning to Rose, Marcus said, "Can you write your name for these men?" Confused but compliant, Rose carefully wrote Rose Cole in her neat handwriting. The difference between her real signature and the one on the contract was glaring. "This proves nothing," Morrison barked. "She could have learned to write differently since signing." "Or," Marcus said, "someone forged her name." Rose, watching carefully, suddenly began signing with sharp, deliberate movements. "What's she doing?" Morrison demanded. "Expressing her opinion of your contract," Marcus answered, even though he didn't understand the signs. Her expression said it all. Gathering his papers, Henderson muttered, "This isn't over. We'll return with more documentation. Be sure it's real next time," Marcus warned, "or you'll all be charged with fraud." After they left, Rose quickly wrote, "They won't stop. What do we do?" Marcus looked at her, making another life-altering decision. "We make this marriage real," he said, "legally real, so no one can question it." Her eyes widened. "Are you sure?" Her eyes widened. "Are you sure? It's the only way to protect you," Marcus said gently. "But only if you agree. I won't force you." Rose studied him carefully, then wrote, "You're a good man. I'd be honored to be your real wife." Looking into her trusting eyes, Marcus felt something stir deep inside, a sense that this was no longer just a rescue. It was the beginning of something neither of them had expected. But first, they'd have to survive the enemies determined to tear them apart. 3 days later, Marcus and Rose stood before Judge William Thornton in the small courtroom above the general store. The elderly circuit judge had agreed to perform the marriage after Marcus explained the situation, leaving out the more troubling details about the auction. Rose wore a simple blue dress Mrs. Patterson had altered for her. Marcus had shaved and wore his best shirt. To onlookers, they seemed like any couple formalizing their union, though the tension on their faces hinted at deeper truths. "Do you, Marcus Cole, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Judge Thornton intoned. Marcus met Rose's eyes, seeing trust and hope there. "I do." Turning to Rose, the judge spoke slowly. "Do you, Rose, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Watching his lips carefully, Rose nodded and signed yes, voicing the word aloud for the first time. Her soft, slurred voice sent an unexpected warmth through Marcus. "By the power vested in me by the territory of Wyoming, I now pronounce you husband and wife," the judge declared. "Mr. Cole, you may kiss your bride." Marcus hesitated, aware of the public moment. But Rose stepped forward, rising on her toes to meet him. Their kiss was brief and gentle, an honest seal on their new reality. Judge Thornton handed Marcus the marriage certificate. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Cole." Outside, townsfolk offered well wishes. Word of their marriage had spread fast, though few knew the full story. "She's a brave girl," Mrs. Patterson said quietly to Marcus. "Not many would marry a sheriff in a place like this." As they walked back to the office, Rose's posture was straighter, her head held higher. The legal bond gave her something she'd long lacked: security. Later, Rose handed Marcus a note. "Thank you for making it real. I feel safer now." "It is real," Marcus said slowly. "We're truly married. Do you regret it?" she wrote next. Marcus thought about his once solitary life. 3 days ago, marriage hadn't crossed his mind. Now here he was, with a young woman he barely knew, who couldn't hear his voice, whose past was filled with trauma. "No," he said honestly, "I don't regret it." That evening, they settled into new routines. Rose insisted on cooking, moving with practiced efficiency despite the unfamiliar kitchen. She explained, through notes, that she'd learned by watching and touching, judging food by smell and texture. Over dinner, Marcus studied her in the lamplight, the focus in her eyes, the grace of her hands when signing, the small smiles when something pleased her. He found himself genuinely wanting to know more about her. Afterward, Rose pulled out a small sign language book and began teaching him basic signs. Hello, thank you, yes, no, hungry, tired. Marcus's hands felt clumsy, but Rose was patient and encouraging. When he finally signed thank you correctly, she clapped silently and smiled so brightly it took his breath away. You learn fast, she wrote. Most people don't try. I want to talk to you properly, Marcus replied, then tried to sign the sentiment. Awkward, but understood. Their quiet evening was interrupted by shouting and breaking glass outside. Marcus stood quickly, checking his gun. Rose grabbed his arm, eyes wide, gesturing anxiously. Stay here, he said firmly. Lock the door. Only open it for me. Rose nodded, though fear clouded her face. Outside, chaos reigned. Morrison and his men were fighting with miners. A deliberate distraction, Marcus realized. From the corner of his eye, he spotted Blackwood and two others near the sheriff's office, testing doors and windows. His stomach dropped. They were after Rose. Marcus fired a warning shot. Duh. Break it up. Now. Reluctantly, the fighters separated. Morrison feigned innocence. Duh. Just a card game gone wrong, Sheriff. Ignoring him, Marcus pushed through the crowd, running toward his office. He arrived just as Blackwood's men tried forcing the back door. Stop right there. Marcus shouted, gun drawn. The men froze. Blackwood stepped from the shadows, face twisted with rage. This isn't over, Cole. That girl belongs to me. She belongs to no one but herself. Marcus growled. She's my wife, legally and officially. Come near her again, and you'll face kidnapping charges. Blackwood glared but backed off. We'll see about that. As they disappeared into the night, Marcus knocked softly on his own door. Rose, it's me. It's safe now. The door opened instantly. Rose threw herself into his arms, trembling with relief. Marcus held her tightly, heart pounding, not just with adrenaline, but something deeper. The thought of losing her had filled him with a fear he hadn't expected. They tried to take you, he said when she pulled back. But they won't. You're my wife. My responsibility. Her eyes filled with tears. She touched his face gently, then signed something he couldn't understand, but the emotion was clear. That night, as they prepared for bed, something had shifted between them. The legal bond had become something personal, rooted in loyalty and growing affection. At her bedroom door, Rose turned back, pointed to him, then herself, and made a gesture over her heart. Even without knowing the sign, Marcus understood. She cared for him. I care about you too, he said softly, hoping she could read it on his face. Rose smiled, radiant and full of life, and Marcus realized that what began as an impulsive rescue had become the most important choice of his life. Lying on his office bedroll, Marcus made a silent vow. Whatever it took, he would keep her safe. For the first time in years, he felt a purpose that went beyond duty. In the bedroom, Rose touched the simple gold ring on her finger, thinking about the man who had saved her and then chosen her for real. Against all odds, she dared to hope for love, safety, and a new beginning. Outside, Deadwood Gulch settled into uneasy sleep, but inside the sheriff's office, two lives, once broken, were starting to heal. 6 months had passed since the wedding, and autumn painted Deadwood Gulch in gold and red. The town had grown to accept Sheriff Cole and his unusual wife. Rose became a familiar sight at the general store and church, her gentle nature slowly winning over even the skeptics. Marcus stood on their porch, watching Rose harvest vegetables from the garden behind the office. Her long dark hair was neatly braided, her face healthy and content. The terrified girl from the auction was now a confident young woman. Their communication had blossomed. Marcus studied sign language diligently, and Rose taught him patiently. They now held full conversations, with their own private gestures filling the gaps. Dinner ready soon, Rose signed from the garden. Need help, Marcus responded, enjoying the way her face lit up at his efforts to use her language. As evening fell, they shared a simple but delicious meal, roast chicken with garden vegetables. During dinner, Marcus shared news. Blackwood and Henderson were arrested in Cheyenne. Fraud and human trafficking. Rose froze, then slowly signed. They can't hurt us anymore. No, Marcus replied with certainty. It's over. Tears of relief filled Rose's eyes. Morrison had left town months earlier after Marcus made it clear his kind wasn't welcome. I feel free, Rose signed, spreading her fingers wide in a gesture of release. That night, reading together on their sofa, Rose touched Marcus's arm. I've been thinking about our marriage, she signed slowly. At first it saved me, but now, I love you. Truly. Marcus's heart swelled. Rose, I love you too. I think I started falling for you that first night you taught me to sign. Her smile was radiant as she moved closer. Their kiss that followed was tender, no longer out of duty, but love. A soft knock interrupted their moment. Dr. Mitchell stood at the door. Sorry to bother you, the doctor said, but I need your help. There's a family 10 miles out. Their boy's got a high fever, and the mother's in labor with complications. Marcus translated for Rose. Dr. Mitchell explained. Mrs. Anderson asked for Rose specifically. She's scared, and she's heard how brave Rose is. Without hesitation, Rose signed, I want to help. Within an hour, they rode out under moonlight. Rose, now an able rider, traveled alongside Marcus while Dr. Mitchell rode in the wagon. At the Anderson homestead, they found chaos, a feverish boy and a laboring woman in distress. Rose stayed by Mary Anderson's side, offering silent support, holding her hand through every contraction. Mary, recognizing Rose, whispered, You're the sheriff's wife, the one they talk about. Rose quickly wrote, I'm here. You're not alone. For 6 long hours, Rose comforted Mary, while Dr. Mitchell fought the fever and managed the difficult birth. At dawn, 2 cries filled the cabin, Timothy asking for water and the strong wail of a newborn baby girl. She's perfect, Dr. Mitchell said. Mary whispered to Rose, Thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Rose simply wrote, You did all the work. I just held your hand. On the way home, Marcus watched Rose, thoughtful and quiet. During a rest stop, she signed, I want to learn more about childbirth healing. I want to become a midwife. Marcus smiled with pride. Dr. Mitchell would be lucky to have you. That evening back home, Rose signed with joy. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. Now I have a husband, a home, work that matters, and friends who accept me. You earned it all, Marcus said. No, Rose signed. You gave me the chance to become who I was meant to be. Marcus took her hands. We saved each other, Rose. 2 years later, laughter filled their yard. Their twin boys, Thomas and Samuel, played while Rose, 6 months pregnant again, hung laundry. The twins spoke and signed fluently, switching easily between both worlds. Mama, when will the new baby come? Thomas signed and asked aloud. Soon, Rose answered, glowing with happiness. Marcus appeared, scooping both boys into his arms as they shrieked with laughter. Later, on their porch swing, Rose told Marcus, I want more children. I want to build a big family with you. Marcus kissed her hands. I want that too. With you. Always. As the stars appeared, Marcus reflected on how far they'd come, from desperation and fear to love, family, and hope. In Deadwood Gulch, a place where legends were born, the Cole family had written one of their own, a story of healing, love, and second chances.